Great. Well, everyone, thanks for being here. Uh, Appreciate your time. Good morning, good afternoon. My name is Dipesh Patney. I am the account executive here at Revelwood, and today I'm joined by my colleague, Ernie Goff, who is the senior consultant. And Ernie will be showing you today's overview demo of adaptive planning here in a few minutes, but just wanted to take a couple of minutes to give you an idea of what to expect today. So a bit of a background on Revelwood. Revelwood is the consulting firm out of New Jersey. We are a platinum business partner of Workday. And what that means is we are part of a extremely select group of partners that can help evaluate and implement adaptive planning. Revelwood has been around for a long time. We have about 25 plus years of experience, made up of diverse team of onshore certified experienced consultants that brings a decade of financial operations and systems know-how. From an implementation perspective, we've implemented hundreds of adaptive customers over the years, and the numbers just continues to grow. So not only that, but we also help existing adaptive customers such as yourselves with model enhancements, integrations, support service, and one-on-one training. So we know some of you may be here because you have an active initiative to get a cloud FP&A solution, and some of you may just be here to learn a little bit more on what changes you can do, or plainly just curious. So either way, we greatly appreciate you taking a few minutes, 10 to 15 minutes with us over the next few days to have a quick chat and see what your current challenges are and get some feedback and any other resources that we can follow up with. So one important thing to know is that the demo today is meant just really to give you a glimpse of what adaptive planning can do for the Office of Finance. We should be done in 40 to 45 minutes. And during that time, everybody will be on mute. But if there are any questions, there is a Q&A button at the bottom, and enter your questions there. And we'll try to get to it during this conversation. If not, we'll surely get back to you via email. So a little bit about where adaptive fits within the Workday umbrella. Workday has been around for 19 years, publicly traded organization, about over 6 million in revenue, quite a few accolades, ranked #1 in Fortune 50 list, which ranks global companies with the best prospects for long-term growth. #2 as most innovative company, and Fortune ranks Workday as number 3 best workplaces in technology. So Adaptive was really founded in 2003. Workday acquired them in 2018. The number of customer base, Adaptive has over 7,000 planning customers so far, which is by far the most in the industry. Platform is cloud native from ground up, so single tenant, multi-cloud environment, which means everybody essentially gets the same code. To talk a little bit about the technology, Adaptive is a place where you can do your modeling, reporting, and analytics in one place. So what that means is everything that you need is one solution, and it will act as a central source of truth, if you will. So we're typically talking with the finance teams, and of course we're pulling in GL data, but the really Adaptive is source agnostic. We can connect to really any data source that you need to, because at the end of the day, if you look at it, data is data, and you're able to bring all your data together into one place to model and report with confidence. So this slide kind of gives you a glimpse of some of the areas of the business that you can model and plan using Adaptive. So as you can see, planning is not limited just to the core FP&A team. You can model out really any operational areas of your business that you want with Adaptive. So in a few minutes, Ernie will dive into somewhat deeper into the demo today. However, like I said earlier, feel free to ask questions. Put those in the Q&A segment, and we'll pick it up from there. So, having said that, I'll let Ernie go into the product for a few minutes, and then we can cap it up with additional sources. So, Ernie, all yours.
Thanks, Dipesh.
Yeah.
What we're going to go through today is, as we put into the description, we're going to look at mastering sheets. We're going to show how to utilize assumptions. We're going to get into some dashboard design, talk a lot about collaboration via workflows, and along the way show you some advanced modeling tips and tricks. So to start off with, what we're looking at here is an example of a dashboard. And this is built up over several different components, and we'll cover each of those. But I wanted to start off with what Dipesh kind of led into. This is a cloud native application, and that has the benefit of really giving everyone the same context, providing a source of truth, right? There's things are maintained in one place, they're updated in one place. The platform itself follows those same principles, so that in every adaptive model, there are foundational elements that remain the same no matter which component that you're using, which type of sheet, which kind of report. And I thought I'd start off here and explain what those are a little bit, because we'll keep referring to them over and over, but they are a key part of maintaining that next generation mindset, right? A single source of truth for collaboration, building trust. So the first thing I'll mention is versions. Adaptive allows for unlimited versions. Many of you have heard of that, have worked with it, but this really comes into that idea of you want to have people working from a common source and bringing it back to a common target. So the versioning right here allows users in your organization to make multiple approaches at solving a problem and collaborating. What I like about versions is that we can very easily spin one up, very easily integrate them into reporting, which we'll see later, and you can organize them for internal reference, right? You can see several different types of versions that we have here, right? We've got a section where we're doing foreign exchange. We've got the intelligent planning versions, which are generated by the machine learning algorithms here and are used for comparisons, right? So you can get a baseline established off of a time series algorithm like NBeats or Profit with Lever, and use that as your benchmark to compare your own forecast against, to compare your history against. You can keep your what-if scenarios in one place. You can do your bottom-up scenarios in one place. We'll be using working budget to kind of simulate a day in the life, right? People who are the teams that are working together to finish the annual budget. But you can also bring in your top-downs, right? You have your long-range planning teams, outputs. You can bring them right in and use them as comparisons. These are lockable by your teams. You can see here there's a little padlock on the strategic plan. So not everybody can change everything, right? That sense of collaboration also includes the tools to kind of timestamp and lock down something so you have confidence that that reference has remained the same. And the other thing I'll call out right here is that in addition to the actuals that you load, you also can amend and add to the actuals version so that if you need to model closes, audits, eliminations, things along those lines, Adaptive has that capability to include that in your forecasting so that you can get out in front of your month end to start making some decisions. And then once those come in, you can then take these versions out of activity. The other two that I'll show at this point are level. The level foundational element really is your org chart. Today, we're going to be looking at a lot about the Sales North department, but this is how you structure your organization. This is maintainable by teams so that as you want to model or add other organizations, like say a proposed acquisition you want to model in, or you have another entity that has a different structure that you want to include in your plan, you can do all of that in one place, and so everybody has the same reference and changes come in at the same time. Very powerful stuff to have that. Think about the time you might spend tracing through Excel workbooks that have been distributed and really not sure if you have the latest roll-up. The last common element and foundational element I'll talk about here is time. Adaptive has a calendar that's available across all components. It's a daily calendar. It can be consolidated weekly, monthly, quarterly. Has all of the features that you need, but it is also, it is the resource that all the components draw upon in every part of the platform. So what we're looking at here is what's called a perspective. And a perspective is a series of dashboards, right? Think of it as a buffet of dashboards. This was put together to show the entire operations of a company. So if you imagine someone comes in and they can navigate along this row here, they can look at, they can have this be their landing page when they log in. This is just a browser. Adaptive is accessible from any place in the browser and in the internet. But this is what represents kind of a landing page. So when this user logged in, this is what they had available to them. The views are configurable by security. Most times security is deployed along that level so that the person in Sales North would only see Sales North data. But that isn't something that you then have to go and modify, right? Simply making that security change changes the information available on the dashboard. So as a user comes in with this kind of level of access, they might want to go check out the information that comes in from the CRM. Adaptive integrates with all kinds of different data sources, not just your GL systems. So you can look at the pipeline analysis, take a look at the changes in win rate, sales history, all of the relevant information that a user might want here. You can come over into, let's say you have a production system, you want to see if you have capacity for planning, take a look at your trends before you get into other information. Or really just come over and take a look at your basic finance numbers, right? You can look at your net product revenue changes. You have a dynamic graphing here, quarter over quarter analysis. And let's just say you wanted to explore this information. Adaptive has lots of interactivity on these dashboards. Let's say I'm looking at my OpEx and I see it's really kind of starting to spike here. With a single click, I can drill down. These are all the available drill downs. These are configured automatically. Drill down is a native part of Adaptive. So as you are configuring and making relationships in your data, these drills configure themselves. So you can just click on a number, look at it by department. And as we look down here, we start off with our graph and then come down and we can see here that Sales North has about a $2.7 million operating expense actual. We'll take a look at that later when we get into the Sales North analysis. But this type of functionality out of the box really helps your team start working with this, right? So you're not tied up in building all of these things. You're into that analysis immediately as soon as you start putting the system together. Before I move to another section, one of the things that's really key to understand here is how easy it is for users to make these graphs, make these charts. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a very simple pie chart here before we move into some sheet work. I'm just going to simply drag and drop. Adaptive has lots of drag and drop, no code functionality. So I've selected a pie chart here. I'm going to go in and this is the fourth foundational element is your accounts. You can see down here we have GL accounts. Those are that come right off of your GL system. But we also have different account types. These are based on their source model. Each model type will let you build an account to hold information, to drive a calculation. And they all support each other and can be mapped into your GL to make that single thought go all the way through from a business decision all the way into an accounting reference. So from within here, I'm just going to simply take my OpEx expenses and drag those over. And then let's configure this a little bit. You can see how the report changes dynamically as I add information. I'm going to expand it a little bit for readability. Things like updating titles come really easily. I'm just going to type this. And we'll look at OpEx by function. So I'll just hit enter and you can see how that changes right away. I don't want to change any other formatting over here on this edit menu, but I do want to look at the data and do my breakdown by function. Adaptive has multi-dimensional capabilities. I'm going to look at this by the function dimension. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about dimensions when we look at revenue modeling. And then once I have that set and I like the way that looks, I'm going to come over to my time and I'd like to look at this only by quarter. So I'm going to start that by quarter and I'm going to move this to Q1. So you can see how as I make these changes, everything shifts dynamically. I'm going to finish that off. Once you do that, you gain all the functionality we had in the already built out ones. I can click on this and I can do the same kind of drill that I did on the other chart. So just a few clicks, Adaptive gives you the ability to really link all of your information together quickly and have deep visibility into it as your users start to work with it. So from here, let's talk a little bit about navigating and about how Adaptive really brings this concept of sheets or models together and organizes it for you so that you can have a clear path on how things work. What we're looking at here on the left-hand side is our navigation menu. And I've got lots of different things showing here because I'm an admin. What's available here changes as the user's access level changes. So if you have someone who's just looking at reports and sheets, that's all they would see. This isn't something that you need a implementation team to manage. Users have the same access to modeling functions as the developers do. Again, the access is controlled, so your super users would come in here. Not every user would be able or need to come in here. But you can see that all of the things that I mentioned, versions in time, levels, accounts, the sheets themselves, all right here, easily organized and available for end users to use, for systems admins to maintain. It's a very open platform in this regard, very easy to make these changes and quickly. Another thing I'd like to show here while we're talking about it, because it'll come into play in other sheets, is assumptions. Adaptive lets you utilize global assumptions by providing a secure area for one set of parameters to be stored. These kind of sheets are typically secured at the user level, so only a specific user group can come in here and make these changes. I'm going to show you a quick example of an assumption sheet. Okay, these are the personnel assumptions for workforce planning. Some of our examples are going to draw on these, but at the beginning, this is how you would a way you could configure your assumptions. You could come in and put all of these standard rates that are going to go into a plan. These are set at the total company level, but if your levels are different, you could set these by level. The version is here, the period, the month is here, and the accounts are here. Those foundational elements are here. And this sheet is intended for you to have a single source of truth for your version, level, and account as you go through that's trusted. So you don't have sheets you're copying from one file to another as you move. With that said, let's take a look at what expense planning might look like. So we'll start off with a really basic standard sheet. And this looks, as this builds up, this should look familiar to a lot of you. You can see here we have level and version, right? Months across the top and accounts down the side. Adaptive, like everything else, uses formatting to share information with us. Grayed out cells are not editable. The green font are your actuals. This lets users know that this contains the latest information that was loaded to the system. The bold shows totals. And let's take an example of how we might use this at a total company level. Let's say I'm someone who has responsibility for telephone expenses across the company. I would simply right-click here, pivot the view to view by level. And you can see that the display changes. The cells with the white background are editable. These small triangles in the bottom corner indicate that the cell is governed by a formula right now. And again, you can see that the same green and consolidation and bolds are present as they are in the other places. If I wanted to make a change, I would simply highlight the cells. The orange lets me know which cells are being considered. I would right click on it, and let's say I just want to adjust this. I have a very easy to apply adjustment menu here. I'm going to increase the value of these by 25%. And after I do this, we can see that the font has changed from black to blue, which tells me there's a pending change here. This is a great feature because yes, everything is live connected, but you want that nice little quick pause before you commit these changes. So I'm going to save these, and we can see how this all rebuilds and recalculates. This is updating that information everywhere it applies and then rebuilding the page for me. So you can see that I no longer have that cell, the blue triangle, because it is now governed by that data input. And users can use this to review their numbers. You can see here that the 18.5 is an outlier. Well, I'm curious about how that happened. So I'm going to explore the cell. And this is a common interface that we'll see a couple of times. And what this does is this tells me the information about the cell, some of the relationships over here, where it appears in other places. But right now, I'm most interested in audit trail. This audit lets me know who's been editing the cell and who made the changes. And as it keeps track of everything, you can see here that my FP&A director, Patrick O'Brien, made this change, and I've been looking at it and asking about it ever since. But this is a great feature if you are working in collaboration with others and really just want a quick check on who made the decision, right? Sometimes they can put a note in, sometimes they won't. But in this particular case, there's a way for us to see who made it, and we can reach out to them directly and say, what was the reason you made that change? Similarly, if you wanted to look at the experience of a manager, I'm pivoting this view so that this is what the manager of Sales North would see on this sheet for planning. And you can see here that they've got certain things available to them that they can access and change. Let's say they just wanted to put an amount in here. They could simply enter it. A little bit. They could put $500 in here. They could copy it to the end, and that would just go through. Let's say they had a number they had to hit. They could come in here and enter the number, and then they would be able to break it back, spread it back evenly so that that number would go through as well. This is really a great tool if you have teams that know exactly where they're working. But let's say you don't. Let's say you've got a distributed team that comes on the platform every once in a while. Well, that's where the workflow comes in. And what I'll do now is I'll pivot over and talk to you about a way you can configure Adaptive so that you bring users into the specific context into which you want them to make decisions. So I'm going to go over to another browser really quick and show you a different screen. Just want to make sure we're updated here. This is the landing page for our manager in Sales North. Okay, this is Angela Bianchi. And when Angela uses the system a couple of times a year to contribute to the plan for her department. And when she logs into the system, this is her landing page. And she can see here that there's 2 days till the numbers are due. That should be familiar to a lot of us. The status of it is here. The overall progress of her tasks is about 20% complete for the whole group of tasks. And when she looks at this, she also can see all of the tasks that are assigned to her that have the blue here. And she can also see that part of the task flow that she's associated with is completed and that there's one note. So she can expand these items and see that the note here is from the controller, Teresa. And Teresa says there's new targets. Oh no, new targets at the last minute are not a lot of fun. So what Adaptive does here is it guides this occasional user through a process guide, by means of a process guide, through the steps they need to take in order to complete their plan. So we're looking at another type of dashboard here. And the way this page is laid out, you have the task pane on the left, which is collapsible. And I'm going to close that now. And when Angela comes in, she can look at the first chart and see that, last year's payroll, this year's plan, this year's target do not line up. She now has some money she can spend at 97% of target to help improve her results. So she's she made the decision she's going to add a new person in August. You can see here, this is the workforce planning sheet, and I'll show you another way we're going to get to this at the end of this example. But she can simply expand this out. She wants to add someone who's another account executive. So we're just going to copy this row, add this new user. Let's make this number 4. And then let's review everything. Still New York. But we said we wanted her to start August 1st. So let's just simply open the calendar, make that change. Okay. Everything else we're going to leave the same. We're just beefing up the New York area. So I'm going to come over here and save this. With the change process. Collapse that down. And we can see here that in August, our number have gone up. Our plan has increased. We've added a new person here. And and that our target expense, we're a little bit over, but I'd rather ask forgiveness than permission here. So this is a great example of what's called an active dashboard. It provides your occasional user with information, gives them the right scope of change, right? These are decisions that Angela can make, and also the context in which to make them. The way this all comes together is that the user goes through, and I'm just going to step through these as though we've read through them all. But you come to this last one, which is to submit the plan. And what the user does here is sees their part of the workflow page. They can come in, they can add a note, save the note, and submit it, which signals back to the person monitoring the plan that this work has been completed. And I'll show you in a second what that looks like on the other side. So let's navigate back to the main system. But let's say, you wanted to make that change from this position, from here. So let me just show you how that would work. You can start off in this sheet, and this is really, I want to show you how these sheets tie together in many different ways. So that was a specific example of workforce planning in one context. I'm going to use Explore Cell and take us to the same place. So what this does is this brings up my Explore Cell menu. And you can see here we have a lot of that similar information, but I have that amount right here. I can drill into the amount and see that it's the individuals that it's made up of. Of course, security applies here. Only someone with workforce planning security can see the salaries and the values and things like that. But then I can go out to that same sheet. And this is an example of a model sheet. And you can see that that 4th person is here in my numbers. Okay? That, we're looking at pay raises, pay rates, annual amounts, commission targets, all of the business decisions that a user could make. We can also split the user between departments, which lets us, plan changes in mid-year, double territories, things along those lines. The other thing a user can do here is double check the calculations. If we go into the row details, it opens up how these decisions pan out, so this information can be reviewed on the fly. And probably the easiest thing to see here is the Social Security line. If we look at how the planning year progresses, we can see here that we start to hit the FICA cap, and then the next year picks up again. So the whole idea here is that the user has context, that all this comes together and they're able to keep moving through their work with confidence, and that the collaboration really helps everyone stay on track. So from these kind of straightforward examples, I'd like to show you an example of revenue planning, which will bring up another advanced way of modeling. So let's go to product revenue. This is an example of a cube sheet. And a cube sheet, again, is like every other part of Adaptive. We have the version, we have the level, we have accounts. These time the accounts are cube accounts. They hold some units and price, and not just expense or revenue and account level information. But this is also where we start using dimensionality. Here we have the customer dimension and the product dimension, and we have dimension attributes of channel and product group. And what this lets us do is pivot and understand this information in many different ways. One of the other features we talked about at the beginning was the power of what if scenarios, right? Doing new versions. I'm going to actually add a new private scenario here. Let's just call it demo. And I want to switch to that. So I'm working in it. And you can see here, once I added that in, it rebuilds my page and I have demo as my version now. And let's say I want to change my perspective. I'm going to pivot this so that I can plan by units. And I'm going to use that same adjust functionality. And I am going to increase my units here by 50%. This is a really great example of something that might take 3 or 4 different sheets and different tabs to work through. With a simple pivot, I've focused on the mini energy product for all of my customers and was able to increase that. Right. So let's say I just knew we were going to do special promotions and things along those lines, and I wanted to save those in. So I'm going to save this information. You can see the blue turn color. And now we have a green background. Green background is another formatting signal that tells me that this is a private scenario and that I have to review this later on and add it back to working budget if I like it. So what do I do with that information? Well, let's move over to reporting. I'm going to go back to my navigation, and in my reports, I'm going to bring up one of my favorite reports to demo. This is my what if financial statement and cash impact report. And in this report, I have all of the different parts of my, the classic income statement, balance sheet, and cash flow that I want to have. And this is really a really great top line way of looking at the changes I just made. So I'm going to come in here, and then you can see now there's a blue drop down here. I'm going to pick my demo scenario and compare my working budget to my demo. Right now, all of the numbers, the variances are 0. I'm going to run this report. And you can see now I can trace the impact of that price increase, units increase, all the way through my statements, all the way down into my financial metrics. I was a practitioner for a long time. That kind of modeling, that kind of change, I used to dread because I wound up ticking and tying and everything and trying to rebuild the reports and the schedules and everything that went with that. You saw here that anybody who really is thinking about just making a units or a price change or anything straightforward could use Adaptive very quickly to make that change and understand its impact almost immediately. Whenever else I look at reporting, one of the things that Adaptive does really well is it has a lot of information that's readily available on reports for teams. What we're looking at here is the current month expense variance analysis. And we can see again that we've got our level, our time, our versions, and our accounts. And as we look through this should seem pretty familiar, right? This is a March and a year-to-date March type of report side by side. We've got our actuals, our working budget. We've got some great conditional formatting, 15,000%. We'll look at that in a second. We've got some really nice, indicators here to tell us whether things are good, bad. Percentages come in very easily. We also have some more information. If you look down at the bottom, we have footnotes. And we can see that the footnotes relate to the information here. But we also have cell notes. Okay, a cell note can be entered in a standard sheet. And there's information here that comes all the way through from the planning sheets out into the reporting if you want it. One of the other really cool features here is we have that same drill capability available. We can drill into the levels here, just like we could off of the charts. We can add notes as well. And the other feature that I really like is that, remember that $2 million difference in sales north? Well, let's take a look at this. This looks pretty reasonable, but the actuals look kind of large. So by simply clicking on this, I bring up my Explore cell again. And we can see that I now have drill into transactions. So Adaptive also lets you drill back into your data source. We can see here that there was supposed to be $2,600 for a company lunch, but the amount entered into actuals was 2.6 million. This is a great example of the collaborative power. Other systems I've worked with, I would know something was wrong, but I wouldn't know where or be able to help the team reconcile it. This lets me send my teammate a solution, not start a whole chain of questions about, the actual, whether an actual is an actual or not. I really like that drill back functionality to really help teams move forward faster and improve cycle times. These are really powerful reports that convey a lot of information. They're also really easy to build, and I'd like to show you how easy they are to build. So I'm going to build a matrix report, which is our standard web-based report for these. I'm going to add the same foundational elements. We're going to start off with accounts. We're going to do a very basic expense account. So I'll bring over my operating expenses, go back to my elements. For time, we'll just bring in a quarter. You can see that this is all drag and drop, that I'm just really working through the things that I know are the foundational elements. And then I'm going to let us automate the parameter selection a little bit. We got to have versions. So let's compare actuals to our working budget. And then I'd like to add a calculation here. So let's compare those. Let's do a difference here. I don't love that title. It's kind of big and clunky. So I'm just going to edit that and just settle on variance. Real easy. Okay. And with about 5 or 6 drag and drops, I've created a report that has the same functionality as ones that took time to develop. I can drill into these things the same way, right? That just came from the configuration. I have my calculations automated. I can select my levels the same way I would in any other part of the report, and all of that in minutes. Right? I can share these. I can download these. They're very powerful reports to build. I can take snapshots and put them in decks. The whole idea here is that your time is spent on analysis, and that distribution of good ideas and sharing of new insights is very rapid and easy. I've got a few minutes left, and I'd like to show you one more thing. We live in a world where Excel is a really important part of the planning process. Part of the next generation approach to this work is coexisting and supporting and making sure that everyone is confident across every way that you're sharing information. So what we're looking at here should be really familiar. This is Excel. This is the Office Connect client. How it works inside Excel is that it brings in information and allows information to be sent both to and from Excel. I'm going to show you a quick version of how this works. First stop is the linked cells, right? We can see that here we have our versions of working budget and actuals. We've got time, we've got the levels, and these down here are consolidated accounts. These are all things that are exactly the same as we saw on the platform. When I work with this, I'd like to show just a really quick, how we might add something. So what I'm going to do here first is I'm going to bring in this group right here from taxes and benefits down to other expense. Just simply drag and drop those in. And you can see as I do that, the information, the cells link up and they're same blue in that formatting. I'm just going to refresh this really quick. And with a couple of simple clicks, I've extended and added to that report. Another feature that I really like about Office Connect is being able to change dates all at once. You can see here that I've got trailing months. I've got February 23, 24. If I was working in a workbook with multiple tabs, this would take me a long time to proof when I was done. In Adaptive, I simply come in here, I edit the calendar date. I'm going to move this from February to March. I'll click OK. And then watch as the dates change. I'm going to click this. And as this rolls through, you can see that my month changed and my trailing months all changed. This is really great stuff for those of you that are, have to produce decks. This really helps land, the helps link the collaboration and specific business user information to your aggregated reporting decks very, very nicely. So that's what I had for this session. I'm going to go back and hand it back over to you, Depesh.
Great. Thanks, Ernie. Hopefully this was time well spent. And hopefully you had a chance to see how powerful and flexible and especially how easy Adaptive is to use with simple drag and drop functionality like Ernie showed. So if you need more, we have plenty of resources we can make available to you. One-on-one demo, pretty much that speaks to more of your needs. We can get an ROI session up and running if you need to quantify the value of this investment. We also offer hands-on workshop. Gives you a chance to get your hands on the trial platform as well. So just let us know what makes sense for you when we connect in our follow-up meeting to reach out, or you can reach out to me directly. Anything that you need, happy to help. So having said that, we encourage you to learn more about Revelwood and our implementation approach by going to our website at revelwood.com. While you're there, we have plenty of resources as far as Knowledge Center, where we offer tips and tricks about all aspects of planning process, technical tips, planning tips, and budgeting process as well. So unless there are any questions, let me look at the chat. I don't see any questions, and I'll pop my contact information if you want to reach out to me directly, which is on the next slide, Ernie.
I think I have that one up now.
I see it. Perfect. Great. Okay. Well, I don't see any questions, but I appreciate you spending your time with us, and looking forward to hearing back from you all. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.